My name is Jim Beal. I'm with the Fairfax County Department of Transportation. I'd like to welcome everyone to the stakeholders meeting on the Route 28 widening. Make some introductions first. Supervisor Kathy Smith from the Sully District is here. Supervisor Smith, would you like to make any comments?
Just briefly, Jim, I want to thank you for having this meeting during the daytime. So hopefully this will fit people's schedules better for those people that can't make meetings at night. And I look forward to hearing the update and any questions we get. Thank you.
And we'd invited Supervisor Harity. I'm not sure if he'd been able to make it. Do you know if he's here? I know he was going to try to join us. I'd also like to introduce from Fairfax County, Todd Mannix, who's the Chief of the Transportation Division for FCDOT. Leticia Turner, who's a Senior Engineer with FCDOT. Kelly Alcon, who's with the Land Acquisition Division of the Department of Public Works and Environmental Services. And Mohammed Najib, who's also with Land Acquisition Division. We also have Tripper Henson. Leticia, has he called in yet?
Can you give me the first few digits?
703-898. It should be.
Yep, he's online.
Tripper, are you there?
I have allowed your microphone, so you just need to unmute.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah. Yes, there you are.
All right. Sorry about that, everybody.
It's all right. Ryan Morrow, who's the right-of-way manager, was also going to try to be on here today. I don't see if he's on or not, but we'll move forward with this. We will be taking questions at the end of the meeting. You can use the chat function to enter your comments and questions at any time. We're going to answer questions at the end of the meeting. Anything that we can't answer during the meeting, we will address and post online afterwards. If you're calling in on the phone, you can press *5 to raise and lower your hand. You'll be called on by the host, and then once you can press *6 to unmute yourself. And we'll go over that again at the end of the meeting to take questions. Our purpose today, we want to update the community on the status of the Route 28 construction project from the Prince William Fairfax County line north to Route 29, and just provide general information on upcoming construction activities and lane shifts, construction phasing we anticipate over the next few months, the overall project schedule, and lastly, the land acquisition schedule and process. Project overview, I think everyone's familiar with this. Our total project budget is almost $79 million. That includes design, right-of-way, construction, and inspection. We're building an additional through lane and a shared use path in both directions from just north of the Bull Run Bridge to the Route 29 interchange. We're also going to reconstruct the southbound 28 roadway at the substandard vertical curves that are just south of New Braddock and between Compton and Bradenton to meet current standards and provide greater visibility. And this is an overall view of the map. Again, we're going from the Bull Run Bridge up to Route 29. Tripper, I'm going to turn this over to you now to go over some more details on the project.
Can everybody still hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
It looks like I'm being highlighted as talking, so that's a good sign. So yeah, just a quick overview. Once again, I'm Tripper Henson with Shirley. I know you guys can't see me. We'll do our best to work through the technical difficulties. I am the design build project manager on the project. Some of you guys maybe have heard before in previous discussions, but just a little bit more of the overview of the project. Primarily, we've been working on the southern limits of the job, but there is quite a bit more work to go on the next year and a half or so of the project schedule. Basic limits are county line up to 29 intersection, just before 29 intersection, as Jim alluded to. We'll be building bike trails on both sides of northbound and southbound, as well as new signalized intersections at each of the 5 intersections along the corridor. All 5 that are signalized today will be upgraded with new signals and other pedestrian equipment associated with that. The next slide has the summary of the 4 noise barriers, which are constructed as part of this project. I know we've had a couple separate meetings that really concentrated on the discussions with these barriers, but just as a reminder, or if anyone that's on the call today wasn't a part of those meetings, these are the 4 locations. We have them ordered by generic wall numbers just to be alphanumeric, but D1 north of Darkwood Drive is the next slide. Basically 28 northbound on the right side. Darkwood Drive is down there on the left of the screen, just to give everybody somewhat orientation. But that wall will be constructed. The next wall, E, the schematic here is too big for the to fit on one slide, but southbound, just north of the Green Trails intersection, basically across the street from the Darkwood wall that we just showed. That is the front side of the Old Mill community. The next wall, I-1, this is actually a 2-piece wall. There's I-1 and I-2 down at the just north of Ordway Road. This is the Crofton Commons neighborhood there behind it. There's a gap in the wall that the trail will cut through, and that's why the walls are actually 2 separate structures, but really 1 noise barrier. And then lastly, northbound right side, just north of Compton. This is wall J1. So Compton is right on the left-hand side, right off the screen. So we'll talk a little bit more about schedule here in a bit, but those elements will be constructed later in the project once design is finalized. This is an example here on the screen of the form liner, which in layman's terms is just the pattern of the concrete elements of the actual panels. This is a picture from a project that we built years ago along the 66 corridor, but it's a very similar form liner to what you see out on the 66 project today, right up the street, along the 28 and 66 intersection. And the elements also will get stained, both sides of the wall, and the color which was selected is the federal standard 37150, but what it looks like is there off to the right. So just a quick synopsis of what the wall will look like. A little bit about schedule. This being a design build project, you know, we've been under contract working with the county, VDOT, and our designer Dewberry for quite a while now, working through design and moving into the construction phase. Those items in red are as completed. So those are real dates as we've gone through the process of getting design finalized. A lot of folks probably remember we got out there early and did some advanced temporary work that completed early spring of 2021. That was to facilitate the room to shift traffic to build the permanent work that we're working through now. Roadway plans were finalized last fall, early winter, and then we've rolled into the right-of-way acquisitions, which have also been recently finalized. But as we're trying to get the job built, also managing design along the way. So we've had a lot of moving parts and continue to try and get to the finish line as quick as possible. Permanent roadway widening is certainly underway. It's been underway for quite a while. Those folks that are driving through the job or familiar with the job see all the work getting completed. That will continue through project duration. The noise barriers that I referenced previously will likely happen in a linear fashion. It is unlikely that all 4 walls will be able to be completed at the same time with right-of-way constraints and other constructability concerns. But we're hoping to kick off construction of those elements later this year and work through the winter to get those walls up. Substantial completion next fall with all the roadway elements opened up is the current schedule, and final completion thereafter, finishing up grading and tying in some areas and getting final pavement markings done, that sort of thing. So that's a real big picture look ahead. Trying to dive down into a little bit of the specifics of what you'll see in the next few months. Obviously, the primary areas of the job that we've been concentrating on are the southern limits. A lot of that was based on limited right-of-way impacts as well as limited utility impacts. So we prioritize the areas that are available for work first. We will continue working storm drain, storm structures, as well as the stormwater management ponds. A lot of folks have probably seen the clearing occur for the ponds. There are 3 ponds on the job that are above ground facilities. Excavation and paving will continue along Route 28. The bulk of the job, of course, is along 28 with side streets tying in and being improved also, but we're going to concentrate on trying to get 28 completed and opened up to help the commuting traffic. Temporary barrier placement, we've placed almost all of the first phase worth of temporary barrier from New Braddock to the south. There is a little bit more barrier in the median, both on the northbound and southbound directions north of New Braddock. That will happen later this summer to open up some more work areas for the widening activities and storm drain to occur. Permanent traffic signal construction is well underway. We've been working on getting some of the underground infrastructure in, as well as signal pole foundations. That is happening this week and will continue in the coming weeks. Additional clearing and grubbing. This will continue to occur as right-of-way is acquired. There's a lot of additional clearing and grubbing outside of today's existing right-of-way that, following the right-of-way acquisition that we'll talk about here in a bit, will continue to occur. A lot of people have probably seen the bulk clearing occurring down at the Ordway and Route 28 southbound intersection that kicked off this week. That is for one of the stormwater management ponds. That will continue this week and into next, likely, as well as the remainder of the pond number 3 on the southbound lanes, just south of the Old Mill intersection. But stormwater management pond construction will continue, excavation and clearing and grubbing, as well as fine grading and finishing those elements here in the next couple weeks into the next couple months. Asphalt buildup along existing Route 28. So as we complete areas behind barrier, there is some asphalt buildup to build up and strengthen the existing pavement section along 28 that will occur under lane closures, off peak hours, of course. But that will be upcoming to try and soften the existing grades a little bit and bring the roadway up to current standards. Upcoming later this summer, once we get the northbound and southbound lanes of the first phase built and widened to the east, so northbound to the right and southbound as you travel to the left. Look out for a couple of traffic shifts onto those newly constructed lanes. It won't be severe. Nothing as complicated as what we're seeing from our neighbors up the street on 66. Really just shifting over 12 to 20 feet or so and riding on those new lanes to allow us to shift traffic and open up the rest of the job. But look out for that later this summer. We'll, of course, provide some updates on the county website and give everybody advance notice of that work upcoming. And as we finish these intersections and tie everything in, we will see some more activity on the side streets, tying in and facilitating new turn lanes and widened turn lanes and that sort of thing to more freely move traffic along 28. I know that's a lot, but just kind of a upfront look ahead of what we'll see coming up. This is a graphic just kind of showing how traffic is being managed throughout the construction phase. Stage 1B off on the left is the current phase that we are working in. Area 1 is Old Mill to the southern limits of the project, so the Prince William County line. As I mentioned too, this is really the majority of the work that's occurred to date. Northbound lanes are on the right-hand side of the screen, so barrier set, protecting both the traveling public and the workers as the work area occurs to the right of the screen. And similarly on the southbound side, work is occurring in the future median widening activities for that third lane of 28 southbound. As we complete areas, the barrier will be pulled and relocated, and barrels will be placed to allow for buildup of the existing lanes under lane closures to tie in the asphalt and fix those grade issues that I mentioned. And then we'll shift traffic on to the section that is in orange and widen to the opposite direction. So just kind of a higher level view of where we're at. Areas 2, which we refer to as Green Trails, Old Mill, to the northern limits of the job. The first phase work includes work in the median. Of course, we're concurrently building the stormwater management structures out to the outside, which is a lot of the work area as well, but the roadway widening activities in the first phase are to the median. So that new barrier that will be placed in north of New Braddock is to protect the northbound left and southbound left median widening on the northern limits of the job. Similarly, we have some asphalt buildup once we finish those widening areas that will occur behind barrels, under lane closures, and off-peak hours. So once again, I know that was a lot of information, but very high level summary of where we're at and where we're moving. I mentioned it quite a bit. Unfortunately, the work required on this job requires a significant amount of lane closures to be able to safely complete the work. We try and plan out our activities as much as possible to minimize our impact on the traveling public. But these are the contractual lane closure hours that we're obligated to on the project. For the most part, 9:30 to 3 is the expectation along 28. It's a little bit earlier on Friday where we get out of the road just to avoid that weekend rush, 9:30 to 2. There is also going to be and has already been a significant amount of night work on the job. A lot of that is to minimize the impact on the traveling public, as well as some work is just safer and easier to do at night with a little bit more work hours. So noise waiver has already been acquired for the project, and that will be continually monitored, and we'll do everything we can to minimize any impacts to folks that live along the corridor. Next slide. So moving into the right-of-way portion of the presentation, like I mentioned, I'm design build project manager overseeing the entire project. Ryan Mara is on the horn, and I think he's able to speak if we have any specific items I glance over. But Ryan is our right-of-way manager, so he is helping issue all the right-of-way acquisitions required on the project. This is just a quick summary level of the amount of parcels which are affected as part of the project, 48 in total, 4 of which were the advanced package that have already been in the process for a number of months to try and keep the schedule moving, to acquire those early parcels to allow for the right-of-way or for the stormwater management ponds to be constructed. There are a total of those 48 parcels. There are a total of 37 unique landowners that are affected. So basically, there's a handful of parcels that are the same owners. Primarily, some of the HOAs along the project may have a couple separate individual parcels, but the same owner. So the good news: no demolition or removal of residential or commercial buildings is happening on the project. That is something that we all worked towards and avoided relocations at all costs. So just a little bit of a summary level. There is a right-of-way data sheet on the project website. We won't go to it here, but if you have any questions about your specific property and need to see exactly why and what is being acquired on your parcel, it is shown on sheet 1C, as well as the other details on the plats and sort of things that will be a part of the offer package. So what to expect if your property is affected? A lot of this information is repetitive from previous meetings. Also, it's worth note that certainly some property owners have already been contacted and been working with Ryan or his team. Shirley does use a subcontractor, Diversified Property Services. So sometimes it's confusing, but potentially you guys are hearing from our subcontractor, not directly from Shirley or Fairfax County. Appraisals will be done on all properties valued at $10,000 or greater. An offer package will be presented after appraisals are complete and been approved by Fairfax County. So we're continually working through those offer packages and getting concurrence from the county and VDOT as necessary prior to approaching the property owners. Of course, the copy of the appraisal is included in that offer package and will be sent over. If you have any questions once you receive it, by all means, reach out to Diversified or Ryan. Out of the 37 landowners that I mentioned previously, 21 offer letters have been sent out as of today. So if you're expecting to be contacted and haven't and been wondering why, there's probably a good reason. There have been a handful of design changes that we've worked through that have affected specific properties. So some are able to happen sooner than others. I've talked to, and I know Ryan has spoken to a few property owners directly just to kind of give them a realistic time frame of when you should hear from somebody. But I would expect everyone to be reached out to soon if you haven't already been coordinating with Ryan as we're trying to finalize all the acquisitions later this year. Landowners are requested to accept the offer or make a counteroffer within 30 days. Really allows us to keep the project moving as we work through the processes. So if there's any questions or any comments or requests, just feel free to ask, and we'll work through every request that we can. Negotiations will continue until an agreement is reached. When a property accepts the offer and signs the deed, Shirley will prepare the closing package, which also is going through county approval, of course. And then the closing and payment potentially could require 30 to 60 days before it's actually finalized after the acceptance. Next slide.
Are you there, Trevor?
I am. Did the slide move and my
Yes.
screen didn't take it?
Yes.
I'm still looking at the. Sorry. Continual technical difficulties. So if you guys are already reading this next slide, we're working to prioritize parcels as needed, primarily for project schedule. We are hoping to finalize all acquisitions on the project by early fall, but some are more critical than others to complete. So I just ask that everybody work with us to try and finalize everything as quickly as possible. If there's any questions or concerns, by all means, we'll do everything we can to work through any concerns that anyone might have. No construction activities will be allowed on private property until a right of entry agreement is executed or the property is acquired. So with each offer package, there will also be a right of entry that allows, while the process is worked through with final settlement and payments, for the project to continue to work on the property. We've done this a couple times already on the project, but it's a real quick and easy way to reserve your rights while we continue to work through the particulars And at the end of the day, it allows us to limit the impacts adjacent to your property and get the work completed earlier. A lot of folks have probably seen some white survey ribbon out on the projects, as well as some orange survey ribbon out on the projects. White is our limits of disturbance. So that is the edge of our project where we will potentially have grading or clearing or any sort of limits of work. If there is right of way required to be acquired as part of the project that goes outside of existing right of way, that will be shown in orange ribbon. I know that's somewhat confusing, but either white or orange is our limits that we're allowed to work to as of the moment of the survey. That makes sure that our folks are not accessing property that we don't have access to yet. And once the right of way is acquired, whether through right of entry or actually agreement and settlement is acquired, those orange areas will be restaked out with the ultimate limits of disturbance in white. So if you see white ribbon out there, that's the limits that we'll be working towards, and likely either existing right of way or the right of way that's been acquired on the project. So that's all I've got. Like I said, I know it was a lot of information. I believe Jim probably already mentioned this while I was trying to sign on, but the presentation will be uploaded to the project website. If you have any questions, by all means, feel free to reach out to either Jim or myself, and we'll work to get everything answered.
And again, if you've got comments, or questions, you can enter your questions in the chat function. We'll read those aloud. If you're calling in by phone, press *5 to raise your hand to be added to the queue. And when you're called upon, press *6 to unmute. I'm going to stop presenting here. We can go back to it if we need to, but I'm going to pull out of this and go back to our full screen view. Leticia, do we have any questions?
Yes, there are several questions in the chat.
Okay. We've had fatal auto accidents during construction on 66 of the 28 interchange. What are we doing to keep safety and speed in mind on this project? Tripper, would you like to address that?
It's certainly of the utmost importance. We have daily, weekly, monthly safety meetings with our folks to ensure that everyone is aware of how dangerous work zones are. Everything is installed from a maintenance of traffic perspective in compliance with the work area protection manual. The speeds along 28 are much lower than 66, which is certainly helpful. We continually coordinate with subcontractors and delivery trucks to ensure that they're safely entering and exiting the highways whenever possible. It is certainly of the utmost importance. It's always of a concern, and we're always reiterating with our employees the importance of a safe work zone. So we have tried to manage potholes and any other debris that could potentially be in the roadway to avoid incidents whenever possible. We work behind traffic barrier whenever possible to limit the amount of exposure. But it is a very important topic that we constantly stress with all of our folks. So
we have the design plans have developed maintenance of traffic plans in accordance with the Virginia work zone safety criteria. And I know sitting in meetings with Shirley that they emphasize safety to all their workers. I think what we'd have to ask is that the traveling public bear in mind that there is construction going on and exercise extra caution. Next question, please discuss bike paths We have a labor resource center at 2928 that has large bicycle users who need to cross and travel the new road. We are building new shared use paths that are 8-foot wide asphalt pathways on both sides of the roadway from the Bull Run Bridge all the way north to just north of Upper Ridge, where they tie into the existing trails there. We will have pedestrian crossings at all 5 signalized intersections.
And I'll just add that there will be pedestrian crossings on all 4 legs of each signalized intersection with pedestrian push button timers for all of those.
Will the temporary lanes, will temporary lanes be wide enough for bus and truck traffic? Large trucks and utility vehicle traffic along this route, tight squeeze. Yes, they will be. Southbound New Braddock to Old Mill, how would you plan to demolish the existing wooden fence? Where will be the line of the new noise barrier as line of wooden fence route? Are you relocating the existing trail? Let me address those. We are not planning to demolish. I think with
Jim,
yes,
if you could pull up that barrier plan and zoom in if you can. Maybe I can pull up the actual plan sheet, but with the introduction of the noise barrier along that route, that the noise barrier is actually between the existing roadway and the existing fence. But because of the construction activities and so forth that are needed to install that sound barrier, the fence will be coming down. And again, the barrier is actually going to be, the noise barrier is actually closer to the road than the existing fence.
Mhm.
It's not a whole lot closer. What is, I'm trying to think, it's about 5 feet closer to the road. The new trail is almost in the exact same location as the existing trail. It's just going to be at a different elevation to match the new roadway elevation.
Mhm. We are not relocating the fence outside of the barriers. We're not going to affect it there, but we will be relocating it. Old Mill HOA plan to use reclaimed wood. When will be the date of demolition? Trevor?
That's specific to the sound barrier along Old Mill, is that correct?
Right, E1.
I would say later this year at this point, and I know that's very vague. I'd be happy to coordinate with you guys directly if you're hoping to reuse some of the elements which the project is removing, to give you guys ample time to set that up. By all means, reach out to me offline or go through Jim and we can help coordinate that with you guys. But the plan is we are currently going through design specific to those sound barriers. I'm sure everyone has heard the supply chain issues with materials. As soon as those walls can be constructed, they will be constructed. And we will certainly coordinate with any property owners if there's of interest of saving some of the fence materials. That wall is the only wall which requires fence to come down. There is some other fence on the project which will be relocated in kind. But that is independent of any of the other sound barriers.
Next question, why does southbound New Braddock to Old Mill have partial noise barrier? For example, Route 28 north of I-66 has noise barriers in non-residential areas. We are providing sound barriers in compliance with VDOT standards. They will pay for barriers that are both feasible and reasonable. And to meet that criteria, that the barriers have to, the noise from the project has to impact adjacent residences. You have to be able to build a barrier that will reduce the noise to those residences. and they have to be reasonable, that you have to have a cost per square foot of the barrier has to be less than a certain amount. And basically you need to have a new barrier needs to protect a certain number of residences. And because of that, we are providing it only where shown on this. There's more detail on this on the website if you want to look at that. I really don't know why they put the barriers in on 28 North. That's a VDOT project, but I know they are providing those with the same criteria that we've met, and it may be because they are protecting parkland. But I'm sorry I can't address that. If I can get an answer to that, we will post that. Rich Lundquist asks, what is the land acquisition schedule for the Old Mill community? He's also asking, our community would like to repurpose the fence to extend the life of the remaining Old Mill fence. What's the schedule to take down the fence? Now can we coordinate? And again, Tripper mentioned that he'd be glad to discuss that. Do you have any comments on the schedule right now, or are you?
The only real caveat, you know, I alluded to it earlier, and specific to the Old Mill properties, because those were related to the new noise barrier that is now being installed, like we've talked about. The design of those elements created the schedule to be one of the last parcels, which will be presented. I know I didn't do a very good job of explaining that, but soon is the answer. The property along your guys' community is important to facilitate the utility relocations. The Verizon pole line will be moved, as well as the sound barrier being constructed. So I don't want to put anybody on the spot of a specific date that you'll be contacted, but I know that Ryan and his team are working through the offer packages specific to your guys' parcels with the county land act staff as we speak. And as I said before, we can certainly coordinate construction schedule if you guys are interested in reusing any of the wood paneling that you want to take down and reuse for other areas within the community.
And Tripper, I'll just add, that can be added in as what we call a special condition during the right-of-way acquisition and the settlement with the HOA. On the land rights, we can write that into that, saying, you know, if you want us to salvage as much of that fence as possible and deliver it to you, that can be written into the agreement to that effect.
Next question, where's the stormwater management pond located? There are 3 ponds. One of them is on the right side of the roadway southbound, just south of Compton. So it's at the southeast corner of the Compton Route 28 interchange. We have a second pond that is located between Compton Road and Old Mill Road, again on the southbound side on the right. And the third pond is located just north of Old Mill Green Trails, on the northbound side, on the east side of the roadway.
And that's right at the end, the north end of the school property.
Yes. For the southbound lanes between Braddock and Old Mill, when will utility relocation and tree removal begin? Tripper?
Those, okay, so so that's the same area that I've discussed. The right-of-way is the first piece that will occur in that area. So as soon as right-of-ways occurred, we will get in as soon as we have those parcels to our ability to build, and Verizon, the pole line will be moved right after clearing. So ideally later this summer, hoping that right away will be quickly administered.
And I would add that I think the portion of that Verizon line that is in front of where the barrier is going to go, that's going to go underground. Is that correct?
Correct. There's about a 1,100 foot of the overhead that is today that will go underground right where the noise barrier is. And that was intentional to avoid having to relocate that pole line further behind the noise barrier and impact more of your guys' property. So we worked with the county, got creative, and found a solution to underground that facility to minimize the impacts to the property behind it.
The next question, CV has existing sound wall installed. Will this be affected during construction? I'm not familiar with what CV is.
I'm thinking it's Compton Village.
Compton Village.
Yeah.
I
That's the community,
It's-
the wooden fence right there at Compton and 28 on the northbound side. No, that fence is not being impacted. It will remain as is.
I checked the plans online and did not see the sound wall plans you showed on the PowerPoint. That should be online. If it's not, we will load them up, but it should be there. I have this person's email. I know we've talked before, and I will check on that. If I don't get back to you, please give me a call. But it should be online. What improvements will be made to the 28 Compton Road intersection? Let me look at the plans really quickly. We are widening. We'll be on eastbound where Ordway and Compton come in. We're going to widen Compton to 4 lanes coming toward Route 28. We'll have 2 left turn lanes, a through lane, and a right lane. Coming westbound on Compton, we're going to widen that to 3 lanes approaching Route 28. It will be a through, a right, and a left. We're also widening both Ordway and Compton Road back about 200 feet from the intersections where those intersect. So we'll have more storage space for cars coming toward Route 28 on both Ordway and Compton. And as with the 5 other intersections, we'll be putting in new signals at that intersection. For E1 barrier, will vegetation and old fence removal be timed when new construction is possible? My concern is removal of existing natural and fence barriers where old will be exposed to Route 28 for an extended period of time. Tripper, you want to address that?
We
No.
will certainly not remove the fence until needed. And a lot of it depends on how early potentially we need to coordinate if you guys want to reuse some of that wooden fence. But we will not be removing any privacy fence until we're prepared to work the area to completion and get the wall up. Now, I say that with the understanding that the sound barriers are a major element to construct. They require a significant amount of foundation work, as well as the utility undergrounding in that area all needs to happen prior to the fence going back up. So there will be a situation and a time where work will actively be progressing in that area and the wooden fence will be removed. But we will do everything we can to minimize the time frame that occurs in.
And that's all the questions I see. Leticia, do we have anyone on the phone?
There are several on the phone, but I don't see any hands raised. So you may want to redirect them to the directions for asking questions if they're calling in.
Jim, there was a question I think you missed, if I'm not mistaken, and it says for the sounds barriers, is their texture and color the same on both sides of the wall?
The answer is yes, they are. I apologize. But yes, the color and texture will be the same on both sides. When those are installed, that they are painted, and this is textured concrete. So when they go in, they will not have the color, but they will be painted after they're installed. We're going to hang on for a few more minutes to see if there are any more questions. And again, this is if you're calling in, press *5 to raise your hand. And when you're called upon, press *6 to ask your question. Our contacts are here. Please, if you got any questions, call me. If you are looking at the plans and don't understand what's there, I'd be glad to discuss that with you or answer any of the questions you've got. Tripper is available to talk. Also, if you got questions on the construction process, and we want to communicate with you as the project goes along.
Jim, there's an additional question. Will
Okay.
the trees along Route 28 between Bradenton and Talavas be replaced?
No, those trees are within the VDOT right of way. We are not planning to replace those. We do not have budget for landscaping on this project other than providing grass cover.
We are doing some landscaping in the stormwater management ponds, but it's minimal.
Jim, in closing, unless there's any other questions, I just, appreciate everybody's attendance today. I think we had as many as 30 people at peak signed on. We certainly apologize for the inconvenience. We know that how challenging it is with a job going on in your backyard or even on your commute. So I appreciate everybody's understanding. We're doing everything we can to get the job completed as quickly as we can and improve everybody's commute and help everybody get through the corridor. So I appreciate everybody's interest in the project. And we'll continue to do everything we can, like I said, to get this thing done as quickly as possible.
And I think we're going to close off. We will post this presentation on the website, and please continue to check that. If we get, as Tripper said earlier, when we have traffic shifts, we'll post that at least a week in advance, just to make sure everyone's aware of what's going on. And we do appreciate your patience and your working with us as we move forward. Thank you very much.